Brent. Kwa sawa? Nasikia. Hakuna picha. Iko sawa. Poa. Sikia.
Check. Check. So check 1, 2. Check. Check. Hapo naona ikicheza. Check. So check 1, 2. Check. Check. So check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
Good morning. Good morning, all. Our chief guest today, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services, UNDP Country Representative, Anthony Rolano, High Commissioner Pleasant, ambassadors, senior government officials, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let's be upstanding for the national anthem.
Creation.
Thank you. Let me now invite Mercy Kadhambi to open the meeting with the word of prayer. Mercy.
Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you for this day. We bless you for your grace, for your love. Thank you for convening us here today. We pray as we do what you have brought us to do here, that your grace shall be upon us, your peace and your wisdom shall be upon us. In Jesus' name we pray.
Thank you very much. You can now be seated. We'll start with a self-introduction. So can someone pass the mic?
Good morning. My name is Madalena Monoja, the Deputy Representative for UNDP programs.
Good morning. My name is Dan Juma, Team Leader Governance at UNDP.
Morning. My name is John Burugu, Commissioner for Refugee Affairs.
Morning, everybody. My name is Ambassador Isaac Ochieng, Director General, E-Citizen Services.
Good morning. My name is Jack Okula, Legal Advisor to the Principal Secretary.
Good morning. My name is Pamela Otenyo, Director of Immigration Services, Foreign Nationals Division.
Good morning. My name is Dan Opon, Director of Immigration, NCM Secretariat.
Good morning. My name is Abraham Maura, Director, Immigration.
Good morning. I'm Jen Nyandoro, Director, Immigration Services.
Good morning, Becky Pembe, Economic Advisor, UNDP.
I'm Nicholas Kibiego, UNDP.
Good morning, I'm Yuvin Radio Mini.
Good morning, my name is Leila Njora from UNDP.
Good morning, I'm Caroline Kiari Kimondo from UNDP.
Good morning, my name is Mary Wamboi. I write for Daily Nation.
Good morning, Mange Mbugo from Hope TV.
Good morning, my name is Naisambui from KNA.
Good morning, my name is Shamim Kambi from KNA.
Good morning, Stella Luvate, Citizen TV.
Good morning all, Nixon Nganga, Director of Communications, State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services.
Good morning, Stanley Nyale, Department of Refugee Services.
Good morning, Jeff Kizira Geturidi.
Morning, Irene Mwende, Coach Ready.
Malakai Motano, Informa TV.
Good morning, Bansi Wamoyo, Deputy Director, Government Reception Services, PS's Office.
Good morning, Paul Mwangeni, Secretary, Civil Registration Services.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Philip Lemarasia, Coordinator National Integrated Identity Management Services, Ministry of Interior.
Good morning. My name is George Muse. I'm the advisor to the CS for Interior and National Administration on Immigration and Citizen Services.
Good morning, I'm James Kianda, Secretary Administration in the Department of Immigration and Citizen Service.
Good morning. I'm Lucia Mulandi from Civil Registration Services.
Good morning. I'm Eduardo Mendonça Gray, Deputy Development Director at the British High Commission.
Good morning, Kiprono Kelvin from State Department of Migration and Citizen Services.
Morning, I'm Maureen Nyagodie from State Department of Immigration and Citizen Services.
Good morning, I'm John Momo, C5A.
Good morning, my name is Joseph Kumu from the National Registration Bureau. Good morning, I'm Anderson Chebi from National Registration Bureau. Thank you.
Thank you for that self-introduction. I'm Christopher Wanjau, Secretary, National Registration Bureau. The high table will be introduced at a later stage. So at this juncture, I want to invite Mr. Anthony Ngololano, UNDP country representative, to give his opening remarks. Welcome.
Ladies, gentlemen, colleagues, friends, good morning. It's before 10 o'clock, so I'm going to try this again. Ladies, gentlemen, colleagues, friends, good morning. Today is a really, really important and happy moment. First of all, I want to thank you for being here. I think your being here is testament to the partnership that I believe is going to serve us well on this journey that we're very proud to be undertaking with the government of Kenya in general and the State Department for Immigration, or under the lead of the State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services. And so thank you. We are here today to mark the signing of the MOU, connecting institutionally the Ministry of the Interior and National Administration and UNDP around this question of really rolling out an inclusive, whole of society driven EID architecture. And so I've got some remarks, but before I get into those, and also in interest of time, maybe one or two key messages. So I'm standing here in front of you, and this is a discussion on something that everybody, I think, given the 27 years of Kenya's efforts to really put in place a digital architecture, or should I say digital identity architecture. And so you might be wondering, why UNDP and why UNDP today? Very simply put, UNDP, and no surprises here, is not a tech firm. We have within the UN family the International Telecoms Union, who do that particularly well. UNDP, however, and the rest of the UN system are here and with you today because, as we see it, digital identity in and of itself is really critical in ensuring that nobody is left behind. And in this particular case, that nobody is left behind as Kenya makes an incredible and I would say exemplary journey in terms of its digital transformation. And so putting the 5,000 services online will basically in and of itself not resolve development if important segments of the population are left out, and they will be left out if the EID architecture does not have this at its center. And so simply put, we are working under the leadership of the government to ensure that issues around inclusion and stakeholder engagement are hardwired into not just the design, but also the rollout of the EID architecture. Ambassador, Principal Secretary Julius Bitok, High Commissioner Namgya Kampa, High Commissioner William Alexander MacDonald, Deputy Ambassador of Switzerland, newly arrived in Karibu, Kenya, Steve, the Deputy Director, I believe, in the room of the UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. Welcome also to Kenya. Colleagues from the UN, starting with our esteemed resident coordinator, Stephen Jackson, friends. Let me start by applauding all the efforts of the government of Kenya under the able leadership of PS Bitok for taking Kenya down the road of having in place, as I was mentioning earlier, a functional and third generation EID architecture. This is critical. It's critical for a number of reasons, and other speakers will touch on this, but it is critical, amongst other things, for enabling Kenya to unlock the promise of digital transformation, and in so doing, opening up the promise of the digital economy, which I think, as we all know, under the leadership of His Excellency President William Ruto, is one of I would say actually it's the North Star, right? It's the North Star of helping Kenya in its trajectory from where it is now as a lower middle income country to becoming an upper middle income and advanced economy. So this really is, if you will, a foundational enabler. And so it's really a privilege to be here. Secondly, I want to recognize the government of Kenya for engaging with non-state actors. This is something we cannot take for granted. I think for UNDP, Kenya is, I think, the 26th, or I'll be corrected, 27th country with whom in the last few years we have been finding ways to add value to this EID journey. And I can tell you, having myself done this recently from end to end, it is no mean feat to make sure that this is designed as, but also remains a whole of society approach. Thirdly, I want to acknowledge that the current and future challenges, but also the opportunities, are going to rely on the joint implementation of strategies. And the strategies and policy directions are clear. But as it is said, the devil is in the detail. And so I think really acknowledging that this is an important milestone in a journey that UNDP and the UN family are with you on, along with many of the friends of Kenya who are represented in this room. I've done the next bullet point already, which is to highlight that UNDP, along others, has been working on this question of digital identity, but also in other areas, because digital identity, or EID specifically, and here we're referring to the ability for an online authentication between the citizen and the service provider, right? And that's different from digital identity, which is basically a card with a chip. But EID in and of itself is not something that's done in a vacuum. Underneath it is a thick and complex ecosystem that we can loosely refer to as the identity management setup. And many organizations, some of whom are here today, and I'd like maybe to point and put you, Steve, on the spot. Switzerland, UNICEF, India, and many others have made advances globally, and that has been translated into, I'd say, important work and advances. I'm looking also at the UK in this. And so this is part of an ecosystem. There is codependencies, and there's need really to look at this as a systemic issue. I want to then reiterate that today, we're not at the beginning of this journey. Like I've indicated earlier, Kenya and many countries, because this is something very, very difficult to get right, have many lessons learned. And I think today, given the impetus and the vision laid out by the government of Kenya under the leadership of His Excellency, the President, have made this a priority. And I think under the stewardship of Principal Secretary Professor Bitok, we are in good hands, but this is a journey that I think as UNDP and as the UN, we commit to supporting. Last but not least, this work is, as I was saying earlier, one thread. It is one thread in terms of Kenya's broader ambitions to ensure that Kenya can benefit from the promise of digital transformation. And this, if you will, I think is one of, if not potentially the most important enabler, right? The idea of this, beyond the shiny things that come or associated with technology, is that we want to make sure that nobody is left behind. And if you will, the evidence is clear. Digital transformation, be it at the level of an enterprise, be it at the level of a government, comes not just with opportunity, but with many risks. We've done work that we'll speak about in separate fora, looking at one example of digital financial inclusion. And if you will, beyond or beneath the story that is a positive one, right? So Kenya stands as a world leader in mobile payment system. We do also have a cautionary tale. And that cautionary tale is that inclusion and making sure that all are around the table, right? So I spoke about whole of society approach is central. Because when we look at the impacts between or on the rich and the poor of digital financial inclusion, we are reminded why we are here today, which is that we must hardwire inclusion and stakeholder engagement from the beginning. And I think the presence and actually even the holding of this conversation is testament of the government's commitment to doing so. So let me end here. Thank you all for coming. Recognize, thank, and applaud the government for this very important initiative and wish you all well. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much, Anthony, the county representative for UNDP Kenya, for that introductory remarks. I'll now proceed with the next session, where I will give the details of the memorandum of understanding that will be signed between the Ministry of Interior, State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services, and the UNDP. And I want to state that these are processes that started a long time ago, about 4 months ago, when UNDP commissioned a technical assessment on digital identity in Kenya, where the State Department of Immigration and Citizen Services was involved, the Ministry of ICT in that process. And with that, now we have come to this level of now signing a memorandum of understanding. So this memorandum has been structured into 3 pillars. So in terms of now the area of cooperation, and one of the pillar will be technical advisory and operational support. The second pillar will be project cycle implementation. And then that pillar will be resource mobilization. On technical advisory and operational support, we will include strategic planning, technical assessment, which have already started, process design, and legal reform, because you realize that we need now to institute some legal reforms to align now the new digital ID with the current with the legal framework. The other one will be, it will also include interagency coordination and collaboration, stakeholder engagement, strategic communication, and public outreach, and then capacity development and knowledge management. The second pillar, that is project cycle implementation, will include project management, administration of financial resources, vendor management, and procurement of goods and services, and then finally monitoring and evaluation. Then this now the last pillar on resource mobilization. And that's the reason why we also have development partners who are also with us here. They will help us in resource mobilization and also advocacy on area of digital ID. So those are now the details of the memorandum of understanding that will be signed between the ministry and the UNDP. So allow me now to invite Lori Davila, who is the Chief Technical Advisor for UNDP, to give a brief presentation on key aspects of the concept project. So welcome, Davila.
Good morning, PSB Talk, ambassadors, high commissioners, Anthony, our resident representative, colleagues, friends. It is a pleasure to be here in a quite exciting moment. We are glad for the trust that has been put on us by the ministry under the leadership of Mr. Bitok. The next slide, please. So very quickly, just to share with you, to give you an idea on what we can offer as UNDP. As Anthony explained, in our global experience supporting various countries in the adoption of digital identity, but also in other areas that are what we know as the foundational elements, such as national identity, civil registry, and all this element about the digital public goods, which is something that we have been fostering in partnership with several development partners, but also with the private sector. And that's something from which the countries can benefit a lot. So that's in terms of our experiences. We have a number of instruments that are available for our member states. We have regional centers. We have our very own Kenya country office, but also a network of offices in the 170 countries that we serve. We have also another instruments such as rosters of experts that are easily and quickly deployable. So that will allow us also to remain agile and relevant, but also responsive to the growing needs of the country. The other element that was also mentioned by Mr. Wanjao is in terms of our operational capacities. We have been harvesting, if you want, for the last 20 years, sound capacities in terms of specialized procurement of technology, in terms of voter registration, civil registration, digital identity, software, and other materials that could be utilized in this large-scale deployments, such as the adoption of the digital identity and the connected elements here in Kenya. I mentioned the experts, but more importantly is that you see a few of us here today, but there is a whole network of support in the different countries that are at your service. The last element that was also highlighted by Anthony and Mr. Wanjao is about the partnerships. That superpower that we call the convening power. We have a number of partnerships here in Kenya, but also outside. A testament of that is the presence of various of the commissioners and ambassadors here, and of course yours. So basically, there are a number of elements from which we can pull also capacities and resources, such as the legal identity agenda, which is being supported by the whole UN, but also other partnerships, such as the one that I mentioned earlier, is about the Digital Public Goods Alliance, also alliances with various international financial institutions, of course, the private sector and the CSOs, among others. The whole idea is that you will see in the bottom of this slide, this is a whole process that have started time ago. There is progress that have been achieved by the national institutions. Mr. Wanjao is here, also the secretary of the civil registration. They have been working together, and we are glad that we can come now to be part of this ecosystem, to this family, and we are pretty much expecting to support you in the best way possible. Next slide, please. The second element, which is more connected now with the concept of the project that we have been developing, as rightly said by Mr. Wanjao, this came out from a high-level discussion in December last year, and we were able to move with your trust, and we conducted the scoping assessment, and there are a number of interventions that we have worked together. We have been trying to maintain this whole concept, and you will see here this multi-stakeholder approach by design, because this is something that cannot be alone. cannot be done alone. So the idea will be since the outset, ensure that there are partnerships, that there is involvement from the public and different sectors in a way that this could be as much as inclusive as possible, but also that will be sustainable over the time. For us, it's important, and this is why it's at the top of this design, is the national ownership. This is why PSB Talk is here today, and also the different colleagues from the national institutions. We are here to support you while you are in that driver's seat. That will therefore entail the adoption of the national identity. As Anthony did mention also, this whole principle of leaving no one behind, there are a number of strategies that are being developed, tailored strategies to try to reach out in the best way possible and timely all the different sectors here in Kenya. All that diversity needs to be included. Elements of data protection and data privacy are playing very strongly in all the conversations that we had with the different partners, but also, of course, around the different plans and actions that are being developed and put in place by the national government. Given the challenges in terms of the timeframes, one of the elements or strategies that we have been thinking about is to have an iterative phase approach. And the idea will be to start to bring something to the public, if you want, that all that concept of quick wins that could therefore allow us to, as a family, if you want, to comply with expectations from the public and the different stakeholders. The element of digital is at the core of the national strategies, the digital master plan, but also at the center of UNDP. So we see digital as a vehicle to achieve all those development objectives. Important to mention also, this will be the third iteration of the national identity here in Kenya. And for instance, there are also already some gains on which we want to build. And the final will be ensuring that as much as we can is to take advantage of the different capacities that we have in place within the UN. Important to mention in terms of alignment, everything that we do by principle, but also in terms of practicality, has to be aligned with the needs, with the priorities and the specific context of every country that we support. For instance, there is alignment with, as I mentioned, with the Kenya Digital Master Plan, but also with certain instruments within the UN that have been agreed with the national government in order to ensure that there is coherence in what we do. The other element is important in terms of partnerships is that this alignment with other high-level mechanisms such as the SDG agenda, but also some important elements from the World Bank Group, such as the ID4D country diagnostic that was conducted a few years ago, and also the recent digital readiness study that was conducted by the e-Governance Academy. So this is just to highlight, therefore, how we ensure that we remain connected with the environment. I think that this is the next, please. It's just quickly to give you an idea, a flavor, if you want, of how this, what the concept of the project that we have been discussing with the national government will look like. There are 5 components, if you want. One, as Mr. Wanjao mentioned, is about supporting the national institutions to enhance interagency coordination, collaboration, and communication. There are a number of interventions that will require the support of the national, but also the county governments and a number of stakeholders in those environments. Very important, as I mentioned, by design, all this element about stakeholder engagement, but also public outreach. It is important to inform the public in a way that they could understand what is happening. But most importantly also is to ensure that they will be motivated to embrace the new generation of the national ID and the digital ID. Moving quickly, also, whenever we support the national institutions and other non-state actors, we ensure all the support that we are going to provide at the same time will create capacities. So at some point we can focus on another initiatives, and therefore this is for us relevant in terms of capacity building. The last two, it's about those foundational elements that will allow us, therefore, in terms of technology, in terms of the legal framework, in terms of structures and infrastructure that will be required in order, it will be essential to ensure that this adoption will be sustainable. Just before moving to the last slide, just to mention, which is important for us, is the connection with what we were, the reason why we are here today. It came up with a high-level discussion, passing by the scoping assessment. Now we have the MOU, and we are glad for it. Now, moving forward with the project, it is important that we remain connected with those foundations. For instance, important to mention that the design that we have so far as of now, it is developed on the basis of a roadmap that was developed by the national institutions and also by the outputs of the scoping assessment that we conducted early this year. To close, just to highlight Again, the relevance of this being a process that is consultative. The next one, please. Next slide. Click, please. And one click more. Thank you. So just to highlight the fact that this is a consultative process, we are moving forward when you have these orange marks today. Again, happy to be in this signing ceremony. Soon we should move forward in terms of completing the project document and of course continue with the different engagements. On your right side, you will see, just to highlight the number of stakeholders that were consulted during the scoping assessment, and therefore just to ensure that we will continue connected with that principle of multi-stakeholder approach. Allow me to close here and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Lori, for that presentation. At this juncture, it is my privilege now to welcome the Principal Secretary, Ministry of State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services, to make his key remarks. Welcome, sir.
The UN resident, the UNDP resident representative, Mr. Anthony Ngororadam. Ngororano, right? Is that correct? Sorry if I'm spelling badly. Excellency, Madam Namanga Kampa, High Commissioner of India to Kenya. His Excellency William MacDonald, High Commissioner of Barbados to Kenya. Daraka Stone, Deputy Ambassador of Switzerland to Kenya. UN Resident Coordinator, Mr. Jackson, representatives of ministries, government departments, agencies, development partners, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. How are you this morning? You don't sound very upbeat, still very early. Well, it's my pleasure to be here this morning to be part of this very important function. Today is the day of the UN. We just finished with UNHCR. Now we are with UNDP. And thank you very much, Anthony, for planning this. It was a good coincidence that the two functions are coming together this morning. But we are here for the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Ministry of Interior and the United Nations Development Program. As you may be aware, His Excellency the President, on 30th of June, while unveiling the 5,000 services on e-citizen platform, directed that within 90 days, he directed the Ministry of Interior, together with the Ministry of ICT, to work together with partners, including UNDP, towards ensuring that we have a digital identity in place by end of September. After the directive, my State Department created what we call a multi-agency national digital identity steering committee, a committee of PSS responsible for identity matters, that is PSS for internal security, PS for education, PS for health, PS for all the state departments that are responsible with matters, digital identity, PS for health and others. Thereafter, we created what we call National Digital Identity Technical Committee, which have been working very hard to come up with the digital identity within the period directed by the President. And I'm happy to inform that the Digital Identity Committee, chaired by Mr. Wanjau, has done a lot of good work. And today, after this meeting, they'll be proceeding to Naivasha for a review. And the objective of this digital identity committee, or rather the objectives of this committee, are about 4. Number 1 is to create a UPI, to come up with a unique personal identifier, which is domiciled in civil registration. To come up with an upgrade of the current card into a smart card, which meets the ICAO standard, and that's where UN comes in. The third one is to create a digital ID. In going forward, it will not be it will not be necessary again to carry your ID. With your phone, you'll have your digital ID, and you can be able to transact with your digital ID. In addition to that, we're also looking at creating a master population register, which comprises of data of all persons who are being born in Kenya from civil registration, data for all those people who are turning 18, that is from National Registration Bureau, data of all people migrating to Kenya, that is the foreigners, data of all refugees living in Kenya. All of this together to create a one population register that has compartments of different, with different areas. So we are really happy to be here this morning to engage with UNDP to partner together on this very important project. As you all may be aware, this project has been a big problem for the government. The other government, I don't want to mention names, did not succeed. The other one again tried and did not succeed. That is why we have said, let us leverage on the help and assistance of UNDP so that we can partner together. UNDP, I'm happy to note, that has helped more than 25 countries to go through the journey of digital identity. And we are happy to also join, or rather we are happy to have UNDP as our partner to help us be able to share experiences, share some of the technical advisories, so that we can be able to go through this. Digital ID is a very delicate project. And I kept on telling Anthony, it is a standalone project. It's a very delicate project. It requires a lot of consultation. And I'm happy to note that we have been able to consult widely. We have consulted with the civil society. We are now consulting with UN. We are going to go out there to the public through public participation so that we can engage them. Because this project is not only a government project. This is the project of the people of Kenya. And we want to get it right in round 1. We don't want to make mistakes. That is why we are making it as consultative as it can get, so that we are able to get it right in round 1. Otherwise, any small mistake can be very costly on this kind of project. And as I say that, I want to thank UNDP for accepting to be part of this. And as we may be aware, digital ID, which we are talking about here, is the foundation of access of digital services or online services. We have launched 5,000 services, but the consumption of those services is hinged around digital identity, that we have to get a digital ID that is very accurate so that Kenyans can, at the ease, at their convenience of their homes, enjoy the 5,000 services that were launched on the eCitizen platform. So as we speak here this morning, all these 5,000 services, eCitizen, CRS, NRB, they are all interconnected in a very special way. So this is really a very exciting moment to have this digital ID, because it's the foundation of robust system that will be able to ensure that Kenyans are able to enjoy digital services, and the government also is able to get as much revenue as possible. So we are really committed, and we want to thank UNDP and the UN fraternity for coming over and accepting to partner with us on this very important project. We are looking at 2nd of October as the day when we can be able to launch this project. So we have really a very short time. We have close to 1.5 months to work together But the launch really is the beginning, because we believe that we are going to roll out this to the entire population of Kenya. So we are saying 2nd of October is the day when we are able to roll this. We're also looking at ensuring that on this UPI does sound very good. We are going to create a good name, a very sweet name for this UPI that is going to sell out. That's going to be acceptable to Kenyans. And we have a few proposals. And just to hint, we are thinking about Maisha number. I don't know how it sounds, because it's a lifetime number that will be for everything. When you are born, you have it. When you turn 18, it becomes your ID number. When you want to go to work, it becomes your PF number. When you want to pay taxes, it becomes your KRA PIN. It becomes your number for every transaction. It becomes just like the national security number in the US. And that will also be the number when you die and leave this world. That is the number we remember you with. Or rather, we put in your death certificate that this guy with this number was born in this day and died on this day. So it will be very interesting time going forward. So mine here is to make a commitment that the government is really focused on ensuring that this project succeeds, and that this commitment was demonstrated even at the ID for Africa conference, which was very, very successful, and that we are looking at having some activities, and I've requested the UNDP to help us on the 16th of September. You know the UN Identity Day is 16th of September. That is 16.9 is the number that comes from the UN resolution on identity matters. So we are saying on the 16th of September, the National Digital Identity Committee will come up with some events just to mark the day and to support the UN's initiative. And we hope that UNDP and the entire UN fraternity will help us to move this forward. So as I wind up, I want to thank our partner countries, including India, including Barbados, including all those of us who are coming together to ensure that we work together on this project. This is a very important national project, and I want to believe that this is the right beginning, and we are actually in the right frame of mind as we consult all the partners, all the persons who are engaged in this very important project. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to end there, and once again thank UNDP. Thank you very much, Anthony. You have been very steadfast on this. I requested you to make it a standalone, and you did graciously accepted. And we thank you because of bringing these people together so that we can together discuss and engage on matters like identity. It is now my pleasure to say that we are ready, we are set to sign the MOU, focusing on the 3 areas: technical advisory, project implementation, resource mobilization, and that going forward, we believe that together we'll work closely with UNDP and other partners to ensure that Kenyans are able to get what we call national digital identity. And in short, we are calling it Maisha number. If the public approves it, if the government approves it, it's going to be called Maisha number, but it's not yet there. We are going to get there at the right time. I think the final decision will be made as and when the right time comes. Thank you very much for listening to me, and have a good day. Wanjao, back to you. All right. Do you have any questions?
If I may, Honorable PS, maybe one request for the floor from the distinguished Deputy Ambassador of Switzerland. Switzerland is a great partner, not just UNDP, but globally in this identity management piece. And so without putting Steve on the spot, Steve, over to you, and then I think we'll go to the signing interest.
Thank you. Steve, welcome. Welcome, Steve. Just come here. Just come and make some comments here. And then Wanja will take over.
Thank you so much, PS. Thank you so much, Anthony. So I'm very new to Kenya. Thanks again for the warm welcome. And Yeah, I mean, I want to be very short, but really we welcome very much this MOU between and this close cooperation between Kenya and UNDP. And digital identity and e-governance in general is also for us an important topic. And we are very pleased to support UNDP's work in this area of digitalization. And with the MOU and what we saw, I think you're addressing really the questions that concern all of us all around the world. So it's really well prepared. And we all know that Kenya is very much advanced in digitalization. So it's really also for us as Switzerland something we are going to look and learn from you, how you develop, how you implement this. So we are very pleased to see this partnership. And maybe just two things from our own experience. So it was interesting in Switzerland, we the first time we tried to introduce a EID, it was rejected by a referendum. And it was interesting for us, was a good lessons learned, two things. And it was good that Rolly, you mentioned, is also on the, I saw it on the presentation, in the concept. There were two things: multi-stakeholder approach, engagement. It was very important. We realized from the beginning design to the implementation, how important it is to, like you just mentioned, PS, how engage civil society, all the groups to be really ready to have this project done. And the second part for us, and also that's why that led to this referendum that was declined, was building trust around data privacy and data protection. We realized really to invest a lot of time in this, that really, as you mentioned, it concerns everyone, every individual. It's for the people. So the people have to be trusted and aware that data is not misused. They can trust the government. So this was the second really big important lessons learned for us. And so with that, I congratulations again, and all the best for the implementation and this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I think it's now at this juncture, I want to invite Anthony Gololano, the UNDP country representative, and our PS, the chief guest, to come here in front to sign the memorandum. I'll also wish also to invite the High Commissioner and the team from the High Table to join the country rep and the PS to witness the signing of the memorandum. We had already taken you through the content of the memorandum, so they will just proceed to sign the memorandum. Our legal counsel, Jack, will guide them on that process. So the PS and the UNDP County Lab will now exchange the signed memorandum, and that now will mark the journey towards cooperation and collaboration between UNDP and the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Interior State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services. A lot of applause as they exchange the memorandum. We can have a brief photo session with the High Commissioner and ambassadors. Maybe you can come front.
The media also help us. Give us a message. Please. Please give us the right message. All right. Because yes, you are also our partners. Yes.
It's, yes, we can have 1 minute. I request you to have 1 minute Q&A session with the media, just in case they have anything for clarification.
Good morning. My name is Mary from Daily Nation. I have two questions. What gaps does the MOU feel that maybe the government felt needed to be filled? Number two, is the MOU the cause for delay of the rollout of the UPI? Initially, the PS had mentioned that the launch would be in September, but now it's been moved to October. Is this the reason for that?
Okay, thank you very much. Just to begin by answering your first question. All right, yeah. All right, I think we can sit down. Yes. I think you can sit down so that we can, yeah, you can stand with me, I think. All right, you said your name is Mary from Nation Media Group, right? You're asking what gaps? I think it's very clear from the presentation that the MOU between the government of Kenya and UNDP tries to cover 3 areas, or rather covers 3 areas. One is technical advisory and technical support. As I said at the beginning, the 2 previous governments attempted to fix this digital ID, but it didn't work. And we thought it wise to be able to get more partners, including UNDP, so that we can work with. The other thing which is very clear from the presentation is that UNDP is going to help us on project implementation. This project is very complex. It has so many moving parts. And it's our considered opinion that to implement this project successfully, we need partners like UNDP to help us. Thirdly, I made it very clear that UNDP will also help us on resource mobilization. They'll help us to be able to mobilize resources from different partners, including World Bank, including IFC, including different countries. And they have a lot of experience. They understand some of the gaps which have existed before with other countries. That's why I'm proud to say they have been able to technically support more than 25 countries on this particular project. So we are confident that with their help. You know, one of the challenges the previous regimes had in this project was a lack of consultation, lack of inclusivity, not being able to have all the stakeholders on the table. And that is one issue which this government we are dealing with. That is why we brought in the civil society, the private sector, the UN as a team, so that we can be able to work together the journey. It's a complex journey, but we are confident we are going to deliver a robust national digital identity for all Kenyans. The second question you asked was about the delay. I think if you're following news clearly, I think one thing that maybe has delayed us is because we want to get it right. Initially, we did a pilot, and in the pilot, there were a few gaps. That is why we requested for a little bit more time. But we are also working towards implementing a presidential directive. He said within 90 days from the 30th of June, he wants this project rolled out. So I want to say that this MOU has not delayed this project in any way. In any case, this MOU will help us implement this project in record time. Thank you. One more question, or there's no question? We'll be happy to sit down if there's no more question, because these questions are not very easy anyway. Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, the fourth estate, the media, you are our partners. You are our fellow Kenyans. Let us be part and parcel. Let us be part of the team which ensures that we deliver this very important project for Kenyans. Let us not create stories that are going to antagonize this very important project for the people of Kenya. This project is important for all of us as a country. It's important even for the media, and we shall all be happy. It will be a win-win if all of us, the media, the UN, and everybody come around, or rather supports this project, so that we make Kenya a proud country. Thank you very much. And thank you very much once again. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. We can now have a closing prayer again from Mercy, and then from there now we can leave. The guests can leave at their own pleasure. Thank you.
Pray. We thank you, God, for this far that you brought us. Thank you for the success that we witnessed today. As we go forth to implement what the Kenyan people have set us to do, with your wisdom and grace, guide us through. In Jesus' name we pray.
thank you very much. No, you know, if we like, how, you know, Nairobi is 47, still number one. Yeah. The other way. Thank you very much for coming. We are. And then